Last week we explained the why, and this week we're going to explain the how. The question at hand is, how do we create more funding for opportunities for our existing career technical education pathways, and possibly more with a new high school?
First, we must start with how Kentucky schools, how their capital and building funds are funded. In order to do that, we have to go back to 1990. At that point, Kentucky public schools were in a need of a way to achieve or to set aside more funding for capital and building projects. So the Kentucky legislation, they passed what was called CARA, and a piece of CARA required local boards to pass an additional 5-cent equivalent tax on property taxes, or what we sometimes refer to as FSPK taxes. And what that legislation did, it required school boards to set aside that revenue that came from that piece of the property taxes for capital and building funds. So in essence, that piece of legislation created a system where funding would come from the state level through SEEK funding and through the FSPK funding. The FSPK funding was created for every school district in the state as a local source of those capital and building funds. So when county property taxes are paid each year by residents who own real estate in that county or school district, a certain amount of that money goes to the local school district specifically for capital and building funds. The legislators have given local school districts who have levied additional FSPK taxes, they've given them the ability to receive matching funds from the state level. So they've taken the local funds and they've matched them with the state funds. This is the only source of additional funds that school districts have to increase local funds going towards building and capital funds.
So then, how does that get us to building a new high school? It's a great question. Let's tackle that together.
School districts are not like a private business. They don't have the ability to go to a bank and just take out a loan. Instead, in order to borrow money, they have to bond the project in order to receive the funds. So oftentimes when a school district is talking about projects, when they're talking about needing some source of money, you'll hear them referred to as your bonding capacity. And that's what that refers to. That's how we get a large amount of funds to do those larger projects. In LaRue County's current situation, currently the district, because our tax rate is so low, the school district does not have the ability to bond the necessary funds in order to build a new building or even to do a large capital or building project. So the question that often gets asked to the district is, how have all the counties around us been able to accomplish their goals in building new buildings, in the ability to do larger capital or building projects? So every county surrounding us has adopted additional taxes to increase funding to their school district's building fund. In the beginning, I had talked about how the legislators gave local school districts the ability to levy an additional tax, whether that be 5 or 10 cents. Every district around LaRue County has done that. And so they have been able to increase their building and their capital funds in order to be able to take on these larger projects of building new high schools, enhancing CTE programs, expanding CTE programs. That is how they have been able to do that, is by levying those additional FSPK taxes. Earlier in the video, when I was talking about CARA and how this legislators required school districts to add an additional 5-cent equivalent tax. So the state legislators, that original one, they came in and they equalized a portion of that. So you get local money and you get state money. So equalized funding, that comes from the state budget bill. That's taking local money and that is the state matching it with state funds. The state funds, every local tax-paying individual, when they pay their local state income taxes, that goes into those funds.
The counties that surround us, because they have added additional tax rates on top of what was given to every county in 1990 by the passing of CARA, the equalized funding they receive from the state comes from our state income taxes. For LaRue County, the Board of Education is considering a 10-cent tax increase. What does that mean? Essentially, for residential property owners in LaRue County, their property tax bill would increase by roughly this amount per year. You take your current assessed property value and you multiply it by 0.0010. The question you're probably asking yourself is, what will this cost me as a tax-paying citizen? For example, if the assessed value on your most recent tax bill is $150,000, it would be roughly $150 a year or about $12.50 per month.
So here's the bottom line. If we do nothing as a community, a child who is born today, so in April of 2022, and they come to school and preschool and they go all the way through until graduating from LaRue County High School, if nothing is done, those children will never experience a new facility in the LaRue County school system.
With the way our funding exists currently, it is not possible for us to afford all the necessary facilities to continue equipping our children with the opportunities they need to be successful. I guess you could say we're going to get the school system we choose. So let's believe in our children, let's believe in our future, and let's work together towards the good of our community.